The Democrats are imploding. I said this yesterday, and I'm going to reiterate it again today. The October surprise as we head into the midterms is not necessarily some new bombshell report. In fact, a lot of the real bombshells that are happening out there are not being looked at or investigated. Case in point, we had a bombshell going into the 2020 election, and that was, of course, Hunter Biden, the laptop, his connections to Ukraine and to China, and the illegal flow of money, and the fact that they were buying influence with the then vice president. The media didn't want to cover it. The FBI and intel communities were out there lying, saying it was all Russian disinformation, and that was that. They will create bombshells that aren't bombshells, but this October surprise looks like to be a surprise of self-inflicted wounds. The Democrats are imploding. Case in point, AOC, the darling of the left, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And just the other night, she went back to her district, something she doesn't do often, by the way. And rather than just, TikTok one of her little videos from her apartment, she went and held a town hall meeting. And of course, she's one of these sycophants who is under the delusion that everybody loves her, especially her people and her constituents. And we are now beginning to see that not the political enemies that she has, and I can't even say she really has enemies. She just has those of us on the right who look at her and think, how did somebody this absolutely mentally incompetent ever get themselves elected? But be that as it may. So she doesn't really have enemies, but we're finding out now that even some of her supporters, they've had enough. And they spoke out at her town hall meeting, and she wasn't ready for it.
Congresswoman, none of this matters unless there's a nuclear war, which you voted to send arms and weapons to Ukraine. Tulsi Gabbard, she's left the Democratic Party because they're a bunch of war hawks. Okay? You originally voted, you ran as an outsider, yet you've been voting to start this war in Ukraine. You're voting to start a thermonuclear war with Russia and China. Why are you playing with the lives of American citizens? You're playing with our lives.
AOC, who posed in front of a fence when Donald Trump was president and claimed that she was looking inside a detention center at the southern border, and she was looking at the inhumane treatment that the Trump administration was inflicting on poor migrants. And then an uncropped version of the photo came out, and the fence that she was standing in front of was in front of an empty parking lot. There was no southern border detention center that she was standing in front of. She was creating a photo op. And by the way, all of her complaining about people in cages and children being separated from the adults who brought them across the border during the Trump administration, all that has gone away, and it is only quadrupled under the Biden administration as far as people being in cages. So this is a woman who she's got problems. I'm sorry, she has some serious problems. She's got some mental stuff going on. She definitely has some emotional stuff going on. This summer when she was doing, her pro-abortion, and she claimed to have been arrested, and yet, with her hands behind her back like she was handcuffed, she put up the power sign. Yeah, okay. And with her, it just goes on and on. She is symbolism over substance. And she is all on board with what's happening in Ukraine, which is our proxy war with Russia. Now listen, I'm not a Vladimir Putin apologist, but I certainly understand what's happening in Ukraine. And most of our military leaders, when they're honest, admit this is something that Vlad Putin has said for years he was going to do about NATO encroaching even closer And we have states within Ukraine that wanted to still be aligned with Russia. They were being shelled by Zelensky. And so Putin came in and said, we're going to take these states. And then, of course, the fighting ensued between he and Zelensky. And by the way, up until this happened, every major publication in this country ran stories that Zelensky was more corrupt than Vlad Putin. But all of a sudden now the propaganda machine, springs into action, and everybody's got to be all on board with what's happening in Ukraine. And what some of our constituents want to know is, hey, you're supposed to be a socialist. You're supposed to be on the left. You're supposed to be one of those new social democrats, which means, why are you all of a sudden being a warmonger? And that was what she was there for, stirring up support that, we've got to stand with Ukraine. And if that means money and, and of course, all of her Green New Deal bullhawk, and her constituents just weren't having it.
You voted to mobilize and send money to Ukrainian Nazis. You're a coward. You're a progressive socialist. Where are you against the war mobilization? He's telling the right truth. You have done nothing. Tulsi Gabbard has shown guts where you've shown cowardice. I believed in you, and you became the very thing you sought to fight against. That's what you've become. You are the establishment, and you are the reason why everybody will end up in a nuclear war unless you choose to stand up right now and denounce the Democratic Party. Okay? Simple. Are you going to stop nuclear war? Yes or no? There is no line, because this is bullshit. None of this matters if we're all dead. None of it. You know that. Then let's take it up right now, because this is the only thing that matters. This is the only thing that matters right now. We could be in a nuclear war at any minute, and you continue to fund it. That's what's going on. Why not right now? You're the liar here. Nobody has held you accountable. That's what's happening. And it is time for you to stand up and realize that what you've been saying has been lies. Let your conscience come through for once.
I seem to recall what we would refer to now as classic liberals. They were all about free speech. You should be able to say anything to the man, it not be censored, that nothing was off limits. Oh, and by the way, we had to be, pro-peace at any cost. What's happened that we're now seeing the so-called establishment Democrats, they want to censor everything. If they can't debate with you, they want to remove you. When we talk about certain issues, whether it be the virus, and people were censored and deplatformed from social media outlets, or even asking a question or two about what happened in 2020 around election time. I'm sorry, if it was absolutely without a problem, why wouldn't you welcome the questions? Why wouldn't you welcome the debate? The fact that we are now all about silencing the people that we don't agree with and deeming who is and who is not fit to be able to have First Amendment rights, that should scare you. Alex Jones, and on some levels, he was a nutcase. On other levels, he was groundbreaking. And on another level, he was entertainment. I don't know that he actually held to a lot of the things that he spouted, but it gave him an audience, and that audience put money in his pocket. He's kind of a more out there version of Ann Inheat Coulter, and I can't stand her. She's a fraudulent conservative. Fraudulent with a capital F. She is nothing more than a fraud who's got a gig spitting out certain approved talking points, and it's given her a paycheck, writing articles, blogs, and being the permanent guest on certain political talk shows. Does she really hold to those core convictions? I don't believe it for a minute. But Alex Jones took everything to a whole new level. But really, what has he been convicted of? A thought crime. He doesn't think the right thoughts. And the left is all about silencing, muzzling. You can't ask questions. You can't. They're for freedom of speech as long as you are espousing what has been approved. And now we are seeing the implosion of the Democratic Party. Latinos are pulling away from Democrats in record numbers. Why? They want to go to the party that actually stands for things like faith, family, values, America, which needs to be a warning to all you rhinos. We're getting rid of you this midterm cycle as well. It's not enough to say you're Republican and to come around every 2 to 4 years and campaign on the right things, and then when you get back to Washington, you govern like a liberal. You spend money like a liberal. Enough of that. We're done with that. You don't understand that was what really drew people in our party to Donald Trump. We understood that he was flawed. We understood that he was going to say things that at times would make us go, why did he say that? But what we did know with him, what he said he was going to do, he did. He didn't just come out and placate to us and then go back and do the status quo. He was the shakeup. And it is the Trump candidates that are shaking up these midterms. And it's going to get interesting in Ohio. Senate race. It's going to get interesting in Pennsylvania. And we're about to flip Arizona from blue to red. And the Democrats right now are eating their own, because what's happening is you've got your mainline Democrats, your old classic Democrats, the people that bought into the whole FDR and the working man, and they've been abandoned by this party, and the party leaders are placating to a bunch of wokeism and social justice nonsense. But the problem is, Joe Biden always likes to quote his dad, which I think most of it's made up. My grandfather used to say, if you give a mouse a cookie, he'll ask you for a glass of milk. As a kid, I never understood what that meant. But as I got older, I realized what he was saying is there are certain people that when they ask for something and you give in to them, they're not satisfied. It's okay, they wanted the cookie, then they want the glass of milk. Well, by the way, where's the napkin to wipe my mouth? And, by the way, I'm kind of tired now from having eaten this. You're going to provide me with a place to take a nap. It never ends what they ask for. And the Democratic Party leaders decided to go in on wokeism, and now we're ending up with 52 genders and drag queens reading to 4-year-olds in libraries, and there's just no end to it. And normal people are pulling back saying, whoa, hey. And so we're watching the implosion, and AOC has really been the poster child for the fringe element of the liberals. And now her own constituents, the people who actually support her, saying, you're not going far enough in radicalism for us. And this is incredible to watch. Grab some popcorn. Enjoy the show.
Hi, my name is Quinn Pittman. I grew up here in these Florida woods. I like to hunt and fish on our land here in Osteen, Florida. When I was 7, I asked my parents if I could have a couple of milk goats so I could make cheese. I am 12 now, and I have a small goat herd. My dad built this barn to keep my goats safe from the bobcats and coyotes that sometimes roam our land. I milk them every day before school. I love spending time with my goats. I make ice cream and milk for some of my friends that are allergic to cow's milk, because every kid should be able to eat ice cream. I also make goat milk soap. It is better for your skin, it won't dry out, and it lasts a long time. I make it on our back porch with my mom. If you would like to try my soap, you can order it at quinnpittman.com or save a lot of money and place a subscription order. We will make sure you have plenty of freshly cured, fragrant goat milk soap in your home, just like we have in ours.